Researchers have shown when we have rigid beliefs, the brain fires off the neurons in a specific network. And what that does is filter reality, decode reality in line with the way those neurons are firing. Therefore, it continually edits its reality and creates self-fulfilling prophecies, if you like, that it keeps seeing the world according to its belief. Despite receiving information that challenges the belief, it just filters that information in line to protect its belief. And then when you change your belief system, as has been shown in research, the neurons start firing in a different way, and you start seeing the world in a different way. If we can get to a point where we open our minds without belief, we come from a state of knowing, all-knowing consciousness rather than belief from mind, then we open up the range of perception and understanding and awareness well beyond anything you can access if your brain is firing off in this symbolic way, limited by rigid belief, whatever belief that may be. When we open our mind to consciousness, everything changes. And to do that, I would suggest we need a blank sheet of paper. You know, it's not about learning anything new. We're all knowing if we can access that level of ourselves. It's unlearning the programming that has kept us from that level of awareness that we truly are. And therefore, because we're dealing with all possibility at the core of our being, that's what we are, we need a blank sheet of paper. All preconceived idea needs to go, all preconceived belief needs to go, and let information, intuitive knowing, decide what we think about things and feel about things rather than preconceived idea. It's not possible becomes, well, let's see if it's possible on the basis of the evidence, the basis of the information, the basis of how I feel. And then suddenly we're not saying, no, that's possible, I'm going to shut that out by reflex action. We're going to look at it. And when you do look at it, as I know from experience, what seems to be crazy to start with starts to take on very profound dimensions. Because we're all possibility. And if we're saying only this is possible, only that's not possible, we're not operating at the core of our being, which is all possibility. We are editing things. We are limiting ourselves. We are entering the realm of mind. And it's a time to choose, in many ways, between the head, the intellect, not that he doesn't have the part to play, it does, it being the governor, and the heart, knowing, intuition. What changed my life more than anything else was when I decided that if I was ever had a decision between going with my intuitive knowing, which we feel here, funnily enough, in the kind of heart chakra area, and my mind, I was going to go with my intuition. And it changed my life and has allowed me to follow this path, because there have been many times in the early days, not for a long time, but in the early days, when my head was going, you're going to say what? You're going to do what? You must be joking. And not in my lifetime. But I thought, no, I feel to do it. I went with it. And as a result, you follow this energetic path through intuitive knowing that's been laid out. And what happens, because intuition, knowing, is coming from another level of awareness beyond five-sense reality, it means that to five-sense reality, general world, some of the things you do when you follow your intuition are seen as crazy and mad and lunatic and dangerous and all that stuff. But if you stick with it and you take what comes as a result of expressing your uniqueness and expressing your intuitive knowing, then eventually things happen, good things, great things sometimes, that happen not despite what you did and the reaction you got, but because of it. And then the mind, the intellect, looks at this and says, well, hold on a second. It might get you into trouble, but eventually it works out. And what happens then is your head and your heart, your knowing, your intuition come together. And the war stops. We become whole again. where mind serves consciousness instead of serving itself. And this is open to all of ours. But the first thing is what it is. It's to face the situation we're in, and then we can do something about it. First thing, to realize that up to this point, we have been slaves thinking we were free. And so the first stage is to acknowledge that, and when we do, we can do something about it because we're accepting what the situation is. The second thing is to choose freedom over slavery and be prepared to do what is necessary to achieve that freedom over slavery. And when we do that, and we mean it, there is a shift in our energy field. As that shift takes place, what I call
only on Be Positive
magnetic attraction, it's the energy field of the human body is an expression vibrationally of our state of being, mentally, emotionally, what we might call spiritually. And therefore, our state goes out as a vibrational field, and it draws in other vibrational fields that sync with it. We call these people, places, locations, ways of life, jobs, opportunities, or lack of them. So when this shift takes place, because we've said, my intent is that I want freedom, I'm not going to be a slave anymore, I'll do what is necessary to understand who am I, where am I, suddenly this energy field shift takes place, and we start drawing in new people, places, locations, opportunities, etc., that are syncing with the new vibrational state as opposed to the old one. And at this point, and I experienced this big time in the public eye, we experience this shift as our lives falling apart. Partnerships may end. We may lose our job. We may change location. We may, like me, undergo massive ridicule. If we understand what's happening, the old energy field, the old you, the old intent, the old awareness was pulling in the old life. And then when it shifts, it's pulling in a very different expression of the new vibrational self. And that transitional period, when the shift takes place, the old life falls apart. But if you want to change your life, then the old life has to fall apart unless it serves the new one. So when we choose freedom, the transformation can be challenging. It's easier now because more and more people are going through it and we're beginning to understand the process. I felt like this so many times. I went to the top of a hill in the west of England one day because I didn't want to upset anybody. I went to the top of this hill in the middle of nowhere and I screamed my frustration out. But it was the old life breaking down so the new one can take over. It's time to know thyself. Not thyself that we've been told we are, but thyself which we really are. This self, everything from the beginning, my birth, my ancestors, my children, my wife, everything comes together simultaneously. I saw everything about me, about everyone who was around me. I saw everything they were thinking now, what they thought then, what was happening before, what was happening now. There is no time, there is no sequence of events, no such thing as limitation of distance, of period of time, of place. I could be anywhere I wanted to simultaneously. That's who we are. And that's what the control system has tried to keep from us. Now, the way to go most powerfully with this change is to stop identifying who we are with what we are told we are, little me. To stop looking in the mirror and thinking that reflection is me, it's all I am. And looking at ourselves under the microscope, that's who I am. And bringing our point of observation from I am David Icke, a personality born in Leicester, England in 1952, to I am infinite consciousness, all that is, has been, and ever will be, can be, all possibility, infinite love, having an experience through this lens into this reality that they call David Icke. And again, once we take this observation, there is a fantastic shift in our energy field.
Only on Be Positive.
And we break up these densities that are holding us in mental and emotional servitude. Everything starts to change when we move our sense of self-identity.